The 2026 Paralympic Games are less than a year away. CBC Sports' Devin Heroux is here to tease up the event and talk about some of his hot takes ahead of the games. Let's get started.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smyth and Nathan Clement.
Welcome into Parasport Nation. I'm your host, Alex Smyth, as always, joined by Nathan Clement. Nathan, are the plains of Spain dealing with rain right now, or do you finally have sunshine in your forecast?
We have sunshine, and I'm a little red today. I was out in the sun for a little bit, so I'm a little burned. Didn't wear the sunscreen, so that was a big mistake by me, but we're getting by.
Well, that's great to hear that you finally have some decent weather. You're getting your training in. I love to hear that. Makes it far easier to train in sunshine than rain, I'm going to assume. But I would love to dive into this more, but we have a phenomenal interview with CBC Sports' Devin Heroux. So let's not waste any more time. Here is our interview with Devin. Devin, thank you so much for taking time to join the show, chat with us. We're excited to have you, so thank you so much.
I wouldn't miss it because we're less than a year away. I don't have to tell you guys that, so the countdown is in full swing, no doubt.
Yeah, and so for yourself, you've had the experience of being able to cover a number of Olympics and Paralympics. In terms of those types of events, those world stage events, Olympics, Paralympics, what does covering an event like that mean for you personally, and like how big of an event is it for you to go and cover those?
It's the biggest of the big, right? It's a good question, Alex. Our planning is already well underway. One Paralympics ends, and I'm already starting to think about the next Paralympics, especially in this climate. I think this will be my fifth consecutive Paralympics. I guess I'm revealing right now that I'm likely going to be a part of our coverage team. Maybe I should have checked first before revealing that. But our planning is well underway. It's been a really successful last two Winter Paralympics for Canada. I think the most medals ever in Pyeongchang. That was my first Paralympics. I'm not going to say there was a coincidence, but maybe there was. And then 25 more medals in Beijing. That was a weird Winter Paralympics. I was there, the lockdown, no fans in the midst of a pandemic in a country that was massively restrictive. So all of this to say that this feels like a renaissance. This feels like an important time for the Paralympic movement. And listen, we're now in the era where Paralympians are getting money for medals, and it feels like there's just a different aura around all of this. So Alex, that's a long way of saying I am so amped up to once again be looking forward to a Paralympics. And I've been watching our athletes, I have, very closely as they try and qualify quota spots for our country for Milano Cortina 2026.
Devin, thank you for joining us. Just the passion and excitement, especially with Paris. There was such a momentum from that games, and hopefully it tails into Milano Cortina. But I want to go back to the start. Where did your love of sports start? Do you have an athletic background, or how did you fall in love with Olympic and Paralympic sports?
I think I was always a wannabe, Nathan, and that's maybe why I follow all the great athletes of our country, living vicariously through your triumphs, of course, in particular, and all of our athletes' triumphs. I'm from Saskatchewan, and that is sometimes an overlooked province, sometimes called a have-not province, and I was captivated by Sandra Schmirler, that curling team going into the 1998 Nagano Olympics and winning from Saskatchewan. They were the best in the world, and they were literally down the road an hour from where I was growing up. And I was captivated by this idea that sport could transcend Saskatchewan, first of all, but then could transcend the borders of our great country. But more than anything, I think where my love of sport comes from is how much it creates community and how much it unifies us, unlike very few things in this world do. And the proudest moments of my life have been when I've been on the sidelines, wherever it be, in whatever venue, watching our Olympians and Paralympians kick ass on the world stage. I get emotional every time I'm in those spaces because I fundamentally understand, I believe, the journey of the athlete. I feel an immense responsibility to represent that journey in the most authentic way possible. But I also know how proud it makes all of us here in Canada. So it's so much more than sport for me. And I have always tried to have my coverage reflect that lens, the lens from my Saskatchewan community upbringing, which was, we're all in this together and our athletes are at the center of us, wrapped in the maple leaf, making us so proud.
You mentioned growing up watching the curling that got you into the passion of, and made you passionate about sports. But in terms of your time covering the Olympics, Paralympics, are there any of those moments specifically that really kind of stand out in your mind when you're describing the passion, the excitement, and the joy that you feel on the sidelines? Are there any that come to mind when you talk about that?
I don't know if we have enough time in this conversation, but there are a few quick ones that come to mind from this past summer, a Saskatchewan connection. You had our athletes going out there being as brave as they possibly could be. And I think exactly of Jacob Wasserman, the humble Broncos bus crash survivor who took up para rowing and was making his Paralympic debut. And you know, what's always impressed me is the mark of a champion is being able to pivot when the story of their life doesn't go the way they thought it was going to go, and then can reimagine what that might look like. And I think for somebody like Jacob Wasserman, his entire dream for the first 18 years of his life was to one day hoist a Stanley Cup. And all of that was shattered on that horrible day. And yet, deep within himself, he understood that he wanted to reimagine and rewrite his story. And watching him on the water at that venue, and I'll tell you guys, it was a moment it was a movie moment. He's coming down the water, and this flock of Canadian geese start flying above him as he crosses the finish line. And I swear, those were his teammates with him, crossing the finish line with him. And it gave me goosebumps. I'll never forget it. Another one, Pyeongchang, Paralympics, Marie Wright. I'm sorry on the Saskatchewan content today. I'll acknowledge the entire team, but there was, at that time, 54-year-old Marie Wright, a single mother of 4 daughters, paraplegic. She told me, never in my life did I think that I would be on a podium in my life. And that team rallied and won a bronze medal in wheelchair curling for Canada. And there she was with the daughters that she raised all alone, cheering her on, their supermom. That is transcendent stuff. So, and on I could go. Greg Stewart, back-to-back shot put Paralympic champion. I had a front row seat to all of that. Jesse Zezu in discus talks about his family's journey to Canada. On the anniversary of their arrival, he's winning a medal. Watching Nathan win a silver medal, you knew I was going to get that in there. And just the sheer joy and emotion from him. I mean, it's special stuff, you guys. And I think I have the best job in the world.
You got me emotional here. You are an amazing advocate for us and an ambassador for just sharing our stories and really putting that heart, that soul, and that passion into sport. But I really want to know, what has really captivated you to cover Paralympic sport?
You know what? When I came into this space in 2018, I was new to it, Nathan, and I'll be honest with you. I don't want to say I was apprehensive, but I certainly felt an edge to get this right. To not be the expert, to not sound like I was somebody that knew everything about parasport, but to reflect the stories that I was hearing, to honor the high level of competition, and to listen. To more than anything, to listen. I wanted my coverage to not be inspiration porn, because that's what I was hearing. I was careful with my language. I wanted to be an advocate. I wanted to give profile with whatever platform I had to these extraordinary athletes, these athletic, talented people. because I felt in a lot of respects there was a void. And I still think there's a void. I don't think it's perfect. And I still think we have a long way to go. We at CBC are trying to create coverage plans right now that are more robust and inclusive than they've ever been. It isn't perfect. And yet I still think we've come a long way. And I want to believe that a lot of the work we did together got the money for medals across the line. We always knew it was going to take a whole bunch of stakeholders for that to happen. And so I also know how wonderful the sport is. I've had a front row seat to the last 4 where I just am in awe every time. And I want to share that with the audience because I want to go inside the stadium or wherever it is. I want to go, did you just see that? That's what drives me because that happens all the time.
For us, it's a unique treat to have you on the show because rarely do we get another expert who is covering parasport in the same sense at a national, international level. And there's so many different stories that me and Nathan like to pull at and dissect during our show. One, on the last episode, this was a shock to me when it came to mixed doubles wheelchair curling. You had Ina Forrest, you had Mark Idison, 2 greats for Canada on the wheelchair curling team, go undefeated in round robin, eliminated in the first playoff. They missed the mark when it comes to qualifying for mixed doubles in Milano Cortina. I posed this question. I would love to get your thoughts, not only on kind of the stakes of bringing in a new classification and having a team like that miss their chance to qualify, but I posed the idea maybe because we're a year out, they've been on the larger wheelchair curling team before.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they get brought back into the fold as the team kind of assembles for Milano Cortina.
Listen, fantastic question. I'm still processing the loss.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to Ina or Mark because I'm sure they're processing it as well. It's devastating. They're 2 of the best ever. And you're right. They were cruising along. They were 6-0, and then they run into Japan, who would later go on to win the whole bloody thing. And we lose 7-6. And as I understand it, we had a shot to win. I didn't see it, so I don't know what happened. Yeah. And every team we needed to lose, I'm so unobjective here. The royal we won. So we had 17 points. It was all based on the last 3 world championships. We had 17 points. The cutoff was 19 points. The top 8 teams made it. I think the field is too small. If you ask me, there should have been 10 teams involved. Canada would have been in. That's for another day. I also think they should have a last chance qualifier. That's for another day. What do I know? But when I did my pre-conversation with Mark Idison, I did ask him the question. So I was trying to be cheeky. Like, if you guys go and qualify, is this the team for mixed doubles, or will you be integrated back into the 4-person game? We know Canada's 4-person team won a bronze. John Thurston, Gil Dash, Kalinda Joseph, that team, they were outstanding. Do you want to upset the apple cart with that chemistry in that lineup? Can you deny Ina and Mark, who have been there, who are champions? They have some tough decisions to make. I wouldn't want to be Curling Canada and that program having to make them. Right now, about a year out, I'm going to say my sense is we see them as a part of the lineup. And you've got to remember, Canada's wheelchair curling team has only ever medaled. It started, if you can believe it, wheelchair curling introduced 20 years ago in Italy in 2006. Canada won gold. They won gold in Vancouver. They won gold in Sochi, back to back to back. What's old is new again. That's what I believe. Watch out for this team back in Italy to get back on top of the podium.
Devin, we have a bunch of hot takes coming up for you soon, but I have a question for you. Is there going to be any underrated storylines right now that we should be following or looking at going into Milan?
That's a good question. I don't know. This won't be underrated. I'm already counting down to Canada, USA in para ice hockey. And I'll tell you why, because Canada upset USA at the World Championships last year after losing that game time and time again. And I was just reveling in that. Of course, it was played at Winsport in Calgary. It was a 2-1 victory. We finally beat the nemesis. Of course, the Para Ice Hockey Worlds are going to be in Buffalo in May. So we'll see. I'm thinking USA is going to want to exact revenge. We should also understand that in this geopolitical climate, it's probably going to take on a little bit of different meaning. But I'm just really interested to see how that rivalry evolves to that point, how the program develops to that point. I'm really looking forward to that. And you know what? Just I would say generally, I want to see how this Canadian team performs. I think there's been a little bit of a feeling of where is Canada in the para movement right now? How competitive are we? I think there was a time when we were really dominating. We were at the top of the medal standings, and now that's not happening. And I think some people are questioning, where are we in this space? And I think this is a really good chance to signal to the world that Canadian Paralympians are ready to take up the challenge to elevate the level of competition. So I'm getting to that, Nathan. I think that would be the one thing something we're not going to talk about because it's pretty big scale. But I know from a high performance perspective, I think I want to see where we are in that conversation. It's the winter. Canada has an affection for winter sport. So I think now is the time to go and dominate in Italy. And I think we're going to have the team to do it.
Well, I don't think you could have more eloquently and beautifully set up some of our hot takes. So me and Nathan, a few weeks ago, we put our hot takes out there. It's recorded for our show, our audience, that it can be used against us when Milano Cortina is actually here. But the first one I will start has to do with para ice hockey. And I said, when Canada faces the U.S., Devin, it is going to be the most watched a para ice hockey game in history.
Woo.
What do you think of that?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. I absolutely agree. And I'll tell you right now, we're going to do everything at CBC to make sure that that is in everybody's home. So, yes. I feel like maybe in some small way I can actually affect that outcome.
That's the one I think you have an impact on. Nathan has another hockey one. I don't think you can actually play a role in this one.
Okay.
The para ice hockey team, Canada's para ice hockey team, is going to go undefeated and win gold. It's my hot take.
I'm agreeable today, but I also am always with my heart. Nobody's going to beat Canada in the round robin, period. Nobody's going to beat Canada in the semifinal. So yeah. I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. It's gonna come down to Canada, US, it always does.
Let me tell you guys, the details might get a little fuzzy because I've covered a lot of events since 2018. I don't know if I've ever been more heartbroken over a game than that para ice hockey final. I think we hit the post with an empty net. Wasn't it? We hit the post and then
it was something like that.
Post,
yeah.
The Americans, Declan Farmer comes back down, scores. Yeah. We lose in overtime. Oh my gosh, I was devastated.
My next hot take has to do with para-biathlon. I think the team, this quadrennial, has been outstanding. You can look at every single one on the lineup. I think every single member on the para-biathlon team is going to medal in Milano Cortina.
I'll take that. Absolutely. Yeah. Led by none other than, is it Huntsville PEI? Mr.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes. I'll never forget coming home on the plane with Mark Arens, and he had, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of hardware. I don't know how he got through security, but it was just a wonderful scene. He's such a champion. So the team has performed, like you said, so well that I think they're just going to carry that momentum right into it. Absolutely.
And Nathan with the final one.
We're doing good here.
Yeah.
Mine's a little more controversial. I believe Canada's Paralympians are going to earn more medals than the Olympians at the Games.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. Let me think about that because what was Paris? It was really close, wasn't it?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do believe it was quite close.
It was very, very close.
It gets tricky with the Paralympics because we only have 6 events at the games, and earn more medals. Where I'm kind of piggybacking off Alex, where parabiathlon is going to dominate, and hopefully hockey's going to pick up. And you also have the Alpine team, which is about to race this weekend.
Alpine, absolutely. Snowboard, you never know what Tyler might do. You know what, actually? I want to say this on the record just to be bold and so that we can come back to this and do this again at the end of it. I'm going to say a tie.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
That's my hot take, and I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of like 29 to
Okay.
31 medals.
Well, we're definitely. I think it's a good take. I think it's a great bold take to take. We're definitely going to have you on afterwards. We'll see how wrong all of us are, or how right we are. We never know. But before we let you go, we also want to get some other fun questions out of you, Devin, because you're such a personality. Beyond your love of sports, you also have a love of hats. So, do you purchase your hats while you're traveling abroad, or do you get them at home and you just try them out when you're traveling?
Well, I do wear a lot of different hats, figuratively and literally. This one's from Japan. I love Japan. I love fashion in Japan, and I travel a lot, so I'm always looking to find like a local flair. So that's how I would answer it is I don't have a lot of time. I've actually got it kind of down pat when I probably build in like a travel/shopping day. I hope my bosses don't watch this. Because I know once I get into competition, like I'm not going into the city. I'm not going to shop. So when I get there, I'm like, okay, where are the local thrift stores? Where are the hat stores? What's the vibe? And I go shopping, and I always try to make sure I have like a local flair from that location on the broadcast. I almost bought, those big furry crazy hats winter, like I was in Budapest in December for the World Aquatics, and I nearly bought one of those and wore it in the swimming pool, but I just thought that might be a little too far. Um, but I bought some stuff in Austria. I was just in Selbach, Hinterglemm for World Alpines and stocked up on beanies. I will tell you, last thing, on the toques, I wear my toques like this. People notice me like this. It's like my hipster whatever. The one time in my life I got frostbite on my ear was when I was in Wood Buffalo, northern Alberta, covering the Arctic Winter Games. I was doing a hit with Heather Hiscox. It was minus 43. I had the little earpiece around my ear, and I was trying to look cute and hipster in Wood Buffalo. 7 minutes on the air, I got back in and my ear ballooned. It was the first time in my life. I still haven't learned my lesson. I've got my ears out, but it made for a good story. Maybe next time I'll actually wear a proper toque, but that's a little bit of my fashion behind the scenes, and you can bet there's going to be fashion in Milano. I'll guarantee that.
We are looking forward to that. And Devin, thank you very much for coming on. This is my last question to you. Out of all the places you've gone to, do you have a favorite food destination?
7-Eleven. Listen, I say that jokingly, and listen, wherever I go in the world, if there's a Canadian fan who has followed my coverage, they ask me about that. We work crazy hours. When I'm covering an event, I'm usually leaving early in the morning, and I'm not finishing and being off the air until 11, midnight, 1 a.m. I'll tell you what I took for granted. Maybe I didn't take for granted because I actually did love it while it was happening. But during those Tokyo Games, being able to go to 7-Eleven and actually having good food at 2 a.m. was a lifesaver. So I'm going to stick with that. If you haven't checked it out, get to Japan, get to 7-Eleven, and get back to me. Changed my life. The sushi at 7-Eleven, better than might not be better than you'll find downtown Toronto. Might rival it. So That's an awful answer, but it's actually honest.
Yeah, the sushi, the 7-Eleven, the Family Mart, it's phenomenal, especially the chicken, you name it, like the boxes, the bento boxes are incredible. So I completely agree with you, Devin.
Okay, good. I needed your stamp of approval.
Devin, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for being generous with your time. We're looking forward to your continued coverage of parasports as we head into the games, and we'll definitely catch up with you once the games are finished to review all our hot takes.
I can't wait to see how right and wrong we were. I'm always here for you guys, and I'm always here for Parasport. Thanks for having me.
Talk about a fun, passionate, just engaging individual in Devin. I knew that before having the chance to chat with him here, Nathan, but my God, is there anyone who is better equipped to talk parasports than Devin Heroux?
I don't think there is. Just the heart, the love, the passion from everything, talking about Jacob Wasserman to Jesse Zezu and so many stories in between, but also everything he does outside of it, from the fashion to 7-Elevens, which I've learned through my own backpacking experiences how great a Japanese 7-Eleven is. But just to have him come on, and I cannot wait to see if the medals are tied at the end of the games.
Yeah, it was so great to get his hot take on it. I was going to ask him, but the pro he is, he just offers it up even with the without the prompt. So I definitely appreciate that. I think it's a good one too, having tied medal count, and he put a number along with it. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, come Winter Paralympics, there's more sports, there's more disciplines, as you mentioned. There's only 6 sports in the Winter Paralympics, but there's a ton of classifications, a lot of top contenders. So I think he has a real shot of nailing his prediction, at least a bit more than we're going to nail some of ours.
Well, I'm hoping that hockey one's going to be correct no matter what. And at the end of the day, I think it's going to be super tight and super close. But I'm going to throw it to you. Are you willing to put down a medal count for the games yet?
Ooh, okay. You know what? I think, because Devin said between 29 and 31, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to say 27 medals. What about you, Nathan? What's your bold prediction on medal count?
I'm an optimist, and I want to see my fellow Paralympians get what they earn and get what they deserve. So I'm going to say the over. I'm going to say 35. That's bold. That's big. I think that would be a record. So let's go high.
Well, like a good teammate, you're supporting Team Canada in their success. Nathan, was so much to enjoy about this, but I kind of want to leave it there for now. I want to talk about this weekend in parasports. We got some big events coming up. Take it away with the PSN update.
Now, the PSN update.
It's ready, set, go for Canada's para-alpine skiers as the team embarks on a jam-packed race program in Europe's Alps. Kicking off the festivities is a series of giant slalom and slalom races in Switzerland before the crew heads off to Austria. Check into PSN to hear how the crazy Canucks did. In blind hockey action, the puck gets dropped for the weekend for the Canadian National Blind Hockey Tournament. With 24 games across 7 divisions, there'll be plenty of chances to take in the high-flying drama of blind hockey. For those in Toronto from the 21st to the 23rd, you can be a part of the biggest blind hockey tournament to date at the Mattamy Centre. And that's the PSN update. Now, Alex, if there's folks like me who are not in Toronto, is there a way that they can take in the action of the Canadian National Blind Hockey Tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. Canadian Blind Hockey, they're going to be doing coverage all weekend, so every single game, they're going to be kind of taking care of that, making sure that gets out there. But when it comes to the bronze and gold medal matches on Sunday, tune into AMI Audio, because AMI is going to have coverage of the bronze and gold medal matches starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And after the gold medal match, we're doing a special edition of PSN on location at the Mattamy Center. It'll be hosted by myself. We'll get our producer Jeff Ryman on the show, Mike Ross, voice of the Maple Leafs, and a lot of other programming on AMI. We're going to be covering and breaking down the games, the weekend that was. We'll have some interviews peppered in there. So there's going to be a ton of great coverage for that. And it's also going to end up on our PSN YouTube page on the following week. So if you can't listen live on AMI Audio between 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. You can check out the PSN special broadcast the following week on our YouTube channel. So lots of ways to take in all the action from Canada's blind hockey tournament this weekend in Toronto at the Mattamy Centre. But needless to say, Nathan, I got to get ready for that tournament. So why don't we wrap up this program? And thank you all at home watching, listening, tuning in on AMI Audio, checking out our podcast, following us on YouTube, and on our new Instagram page. It is Parasport Nation AMI. Be sure to give us a like, a follow, and check out all the latest content. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.